Hey everyone.
Hey everyone, welcome. Hey Fred. Hi Abby. Hi Stephen. Hopefully you guys can hear us okay. Yep, good. I see a thumbs up there.
Right, how y'all doing today? Staying cool? Excited about the event? Okay, we'll find you in the chat, Abby.
Mhm.
Once you give it a couple of more minutes for folks to join, and we'll get started at 5 past the hour.
Sounds good. Thanks, Anton. And we want to give a special shout out and thanks to all of you for joining us because Renee just pointed out we are in the middle of a World Cup playoff game right now. So, the fact that you're here is a real sign of your dedication to ORAM. We appreciate, or you're just not a soccer fan. So either way, we appreciate having you here.
Stephen, we hope you're with us, if not on camera with chat. Intimate and cozy group of folks today.
There he is. Hi, Stephen.
Hey, it took me forever to figure out the camera.
That's okay. That's
There
okay.
you are. Thanks for joining. It's good to see your smiling face. All right. Well, shall we get started, Steve?
Sure.
Great. Well, again, welcome everybody this afternoon to a very special session and look at some of the work that we as ORAM are doing. If I've not had a chance to meet you before, hello, my name is Anton Sarkisov, and I'm a newish, I guess, board member of ORAM. I sit on the board of directors acting as the secretary. And before that, I've done quite a bit of work with Steve on the ground in Tijuana with Renee as well. So I'm really happy to um, meet and share with you stories to one of our important audiences, you who all support and have been very generous and supportive of our work before. We're grateful to have you as the California community today with us today. You'll find in the next 30 to 40 minutes that this is going to be a conversation that will allow us an opportunity to reflect on ORAM's growth in recent years, hear directly from people connected to our work, and talk about why support for LGBTQ refugees remains so urgent beyond the month of June. You can probably guess why it is so urgent these days, but we're going to unpack that a little bit in the context of the work that ORAM is doing. Without further intro, we're also very fortunate to be joined by Steve Roth, ORAM's executive director, who has recently celebrated 7 years. Congrats, Steve, at ORAM. One of our speakers, Madrin, is unable to join us today, so we have a video to show you. As well as we are joined by Renee Tech Lopez, ORAM's Mexico project officer, I'm sorry. Steve, I'd like to begin with you. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little casual conversation with Steve, Renee, and show you a little bit of a video. And Steve, my first question is to you, which is, as I mentioned, you recently marked your 7th anniversary as ORAM's executive director. And I'd love to start there. Over those years, ORAM as an organization has grown and changed in very important ways. I would say especially in the last couple of years, right? Before COVID, during COVID, and after COVID, and with the changing administrations. Can you share exactly how the organization has evolved and what growth has made possible?
Absolutely. Thanks, Anton. And first of all, thanks everyone for joining us. And it's a good question, especially given who we have on the call. I worked with Stephen at my last role at Out and Equal before I joined ORAM 7 years ago. And Fred, in fact, Fred Hertz has been involved with ORAM even longer and was one of our board members, Anton, prior to me joining the organization even. So going back almost 10 years. So great to have you all here with us. And I'll just kick us off by saying that the biggest change and evolution over these last 7 years has been moving from being purely an advocacy organization to a service provider, and specifically one that's focused on the protection and empowerment of LGBTQ refugees and asylum seekers. So as you mentioned, that was over 7 years ago, just 7 years ago this month that I started with ORAM. It was the last Trump administration, even though it seems like so long ago. And back then as well, very few refugees were getting resettled. We had a lot of people stuck at the border, the Mexico-U.S. border. There were a lot of challenges to the advocacy and resettlement work that ORAM was doing at the time, and the funding for that work as well. And so when I joined, one of the first things that I did was go on a listening tour to really learn what the needs were and kind of what our stakeholders were saying. And I met with our board members and staff, our small team at the time. I met with donors, and most importantly, I met with the people that we served, LGBTQ refugees and asylum seekers. And what I really learned then, what's really guided our work in these last 7 years, is that the real need was on the ground where LGBTQ people, displaced people are. That there's always this dream and this golden ticket of getting resettled, but the fact is that less than 0.5% of refugees get resettled in any given year. And that was even before the current, even more draconian cutbacks resettlement. So the real need is in those transit countries. It's in people who are in the middle of the displacement process. And so that's where we started focusing. And we updated ORAM's mission statement almost 7 years ago. I remember this was on a trip to Berlin in December 2019. And that mission, the mission statement that we crafted then is what still guides us today. And that is that ORAM protects and empowers LGBTQ refugees and asylum seekers globally, creating sustainability and systemic change. So that was really the start of the journey we've been on for these last 7 years. And I would say the next big kind of defining focus of this period has really been centering the people that we serve, the LGBTQ refugees themselves, and localizing our efforts. And when people talk about localization, it's just that it's really putting the people that we serve front and center. It's working with local partners. It's working at the ground level. It's working with queer refugee-led organizations. And we started doing that. We started working on the ground in Kenya first, which is the biggest hub for LGBTQ refugees in Central and Eastern Africa. We started working in Mexico at the Mexico-U.S. border in Tijuana. And we started slowly building staff on the ground. We hired our first full-time employee in Kenya in 2021. That was Winfred, who many people know. And we really started focusing on that direct service provision and basing our work, really kind of iterating our work based on the feedback that we got from the community about what they needed and how they needed it. And that's really how our services have evolved. And so, that brings us kind of the next kind of defining feature of our work that and that is that it's really coalesced over these last few years around 3 pillars, which are protection, empowerment, and advocacy. And the protection piece is that safe and secure short-term housing that we do a lot of it in partnership with Airbnb. Empowerment is our work focused primarily on economic empowerment, which is skills building for jobs and seed funding to start businesses. And you're going to hear more about that from Renee vis-a-vis the work that we do in Mexico. And then all of our advocacy work to improve the systems that govern LGBTQ refugees and all the work around this. And so that's really how our work has grown over the most recent several years. Our work has grown, our team has grown. One key piece has been that we've really started to gain the trust of the community that we serve. Not too surprisingly, the communities, has faced so much discrimination and violence and challenges that there's sometimes there's a lack of trust of others. Well placed, and but we've gained the trust, which has enabled our work to grow and expand. We had another milestone in 2022. Russia invaded Ukraine in February of 22, and suddenly we started working on the ground in Germany and in Europe more broadly. And we've been registered and have had an office in Berlin for a number of years, but this was the first time we started working locally there as well. And so we started hiring staff there and serving the community there as well. And then during all this time, throughout, we've seen our individual donor community grow, including the folks who are on the call and many others. And we've seen foundation support for our work grow and evolve as well, and shift in some ways from being primarily human rights focused funders to more humanitarian funders like Center for Disaster Philanthropy and Airbnb.org, who are now big supporters of our work, along with others. And then another big moment was in over 2023. We developed a 3-year strategic plan to guide our work, and with that plan, well, we kept our mission statement intact. We evolved our values and identified our values, which guide us today, which are being collaborative, adaptive, responsive, equitable, and solutions oriented. And that really summarizes well who we are, what we do, and how we do it. And we really set about focusing on building the organizational capacity of ORAM. And we had, in fact, by that point, had quadrupled in budget and in staff size. And so, really have been growing a lot, and that includes our board as well. As you mentioned, Anton, you're a newish board member, one of many new board members. We've got, I think, 8 members on the board now, and only 2 have been around for more than a year. So a lot of growth and evolution of our board too. And so we were really on this path towards building our organizational capacity when all the changes hit at the beginning of last year, 2025, when the second Trump administration took over, and really honestly derailed things a lot, not only for us, but for so many nonprofits, particularly around both the political attacks on LGBT people and on refugees and asylum seekers, but then also all of these draconian funding cuts that have impacted all of our work so much across the space. And so, we're in that latest phase now. Luckily, being adaptable is one of our core values, and that is something that we've had to practice a lot in the last year and a half. But you asked what the growth has made possible, and I would just end on that point and say, 3 things, and that is that number one, it's made it possible for us to provide these more specialized services that are needed now more than ever, particularly around the economic empowerment. It's helped us build a refugee population that is moving towards self-sufficiency. They're not there yet, but they're definitely moving in the right direction, at least the communities that we work with. And finding a community that has hope for a better day. It's something I hear a lot when I get to meet the people that we serve. It's that our work gives them hope. And we're not there yet with all of the things we'd like to deliver to them, but they know that we're there in their corner, and we're making a difference, and that is hugely powerful and important.
Wow, there's so much goodness I heard in that. I'm always impressed by how you're able to articulate all the great work that we do across 3 continents. I love what you said. You said a couple of things I just want to synthesize and call back to you, that as much as ORAM is in the service business, we're also in the trust business, right? And especially a population who often is faced with a huge deficit and gap in trust, right? To be able to bridge that before we provide the first whatever, housing, meals, etc., That is so key. And then the second thing is just how responsive and adaptive the organization has been. I love that you and the team always meet the population that we serve exactly where they are, even before this administration. I mean, changing the mission statement and pivoting like that is not a small undertaking, but hey, we and you and the team continue to reinvent yourself, because at the end of the day, our mission is so important, which is to ensure protection and advocacy for LGBTQ refugees. So, well said. Thank you, Steve. Um, I want to now give you guys a different perspective, a more on the ground perspective from one of folks. Her name is Fardoso. She's a field assistant in the Kakuma refugee camp, one of the areas that ORAM serves. She just started a business, and rather than me explain it away, Kyle, if you want to play the video, I'd love for you all to hear what she's got going on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Anton. Give me one moment while I share that video.
Sure thing.
My name is Fardos Dawood and my pronouns is she, her. I came in Kenya the year 2011. I settled in Kakuma refugee camp for about 10 to 11 years now. I joined ORAM this year, April, where I registered and they offered a business training for 3 days. And after the training, it's where they gave us a seed fund. And with the seed fund, I decided to open a cyber shop, and not only I have a business partner with the name Masti. Yeah, Masti and I decided to open a cyber shop. So as I've said before, I have a business partner and he is my business partner.
Yeah, by the name, I'm called Steve Brown. This is our business. With our services is sending movies, photography, painting, and this is my partner for those.
So as we've said, the services that we render to our client is, number one is we give movies to people, and we have 4 laptops. Each laptop has a different type of movie with its own languages, because as we all know here in the camp, not everyone speaks English, not everyone speaks Kiswahili. Yeah, so all these laptops have their own movies with different languages. And secondly, we also have a place for charging phones. As we know, Kakuma is not a very stable place with electricity. So down here it's where we charge phones. Clients might come and they want to charge their phones. Yes, we also offer that. And then we also offer Wi-Fi supply. You want to come browse on the internet, do some work online, you come here. We have a place here for Wi-Fi. It's very stable, by the way. So our business used to run it till night time, but since we have an issue with the solar, now we're having only one solar, which has given us a limited time of working. So we work from morning till 6 in the evening, which it's like a bit of challenge to us. But so far we hope very soon we will succumb that challenge. As I've said before, my business mostly focuses with the youth. So my vision is to set up a PS5. Like I want to set up like a gaming shop inside here, which you all know that PS5 PlayStation is very marketable. Yeah, and that is my vision, because I know if we do that, not only am I helping myself, but I'm helping other people, thereby employing them also to work with me. So I would like to thank ORAM so much for the seed fund. Not only changed my life, but also my partner's life, and we hope we're going to do it to other people in the future. as it's very safe for me to say that I am independent because we know WFP has cut down the ration to 40%, which is there's high starvation and hunger here in the refugee camp. Um, Now I can eat anything, change my diet, which is okay for me, buy myself clothes. I'm very independent right now, and this is not because of me. This is because of the seed fund that I got from ORAM. So all I want to say to ORAM is thank you so much for the seed fund.
Thank you, Kyle.
Of
I love,
course.
yeah, I love seeing that video. It's so touching and is so exemplary of just the kind of work that ORAM does.
Uh, yes, thank you so much, Anton. And everyone, what's really exciting, just to give you all an update, is that that video was actually taken towards the end of 2024. As Fardos mentioned, she had just received seed funding for her business. I have a more recent video, actually, just a little over a month ago. As Anton mentioned before, Fardos has officially joined the ORAM team as a field assistant. And a field assistant is a member of the community who works on behalf of ORAM, and really is touching on what Steve mentioned about building that trust within the community. Fardos is crucial to that work in Kakuma. And so I've got this brief video message. I think you'll be able to see her growth in the a little over a year and a half. You'll be able to see her personal growth. And additionally, Fardos has been an incredible representative for LGBTIQ refugees in Kakuma refugee camp. She has represented ORAM and the community that we serve at various events. And additionally, she was the MC for the very first Pride celebration that happened in Kakuma refugee camp, which is incredible. As I'm sure many of you know, it was, right around the time Steve joined the organization where they were, killing LGBTQ plus persons in Kakuma. And so the fact that, albeit a small ceremony, she was able to be the MC. She's just been an exemplary leader for the community. So I'm really excited. This is just a really brief video here that I'm going to share. So please provide me one moment while I share that.
My name is Fajr. I work with ORAM as a field assistant within Kakuma refugee camp. I personally made this video to thank you so much for your kind donation that you've done in ORAM organization. You've changed the life of many queer people. For example, I never had a business before, but because of the donation that you gave, now I'm thriving a very successful business. And also within my fieldwork activities, I've witnessed a lot of queer people who are literally down, but now they are up there somewhere. Now they feel heard and supported and very independent, and that's thanks to your donation. So as queer from Kakuma refugee camp, we want to say thank you so much. Thank you for being an outstanding leader. Thank you so much for making us heard and visible, and that we can do something. So this is a thank you video for us.
All right. Thank you all so much. And I just close out by saying, truly, thank you all so much for your support. I think Fardos is a phenomenal example of not of what we've known all along, that LGBTIQ refugees, they bring resilience, they bring with them knowledge and determination. And when they are able to access the tools to be able to become self-reliant, the really beautiful thing. So I want to thank you all for making that possible. Thanks, Avi, for the note in the chat. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Anton.
Yes, thanks, Kyle. I think we all love a little before and after glow up, and that is quite the economic glow up. So thanks for sharing the update. That's even better. So with that, I want to fly over to another part of the world and talk a little bit with Renee and the work that ORAM is doing there. So, Renee, in Mexico, can you briefly describe ORAM's work there and what you're seeing as the greatest need for LGBTQ refugees and asylum seekers, especially in Mexico City?
Thank you, Anton, for the question, and it's an honor to be here and sharing a little about the work that we are doing in Mexico, especially in Mexico City. And I would like to begin by sharing a little context. Mexico City is increasingly becoming a destination for migrants and refugees rather than a simple place of transit. This is particularly true for many queer people who are unable to continue their journey toward the United States, but who also cannot safely return to their countries of origin. As a result, many queer refugees and asylum seekers are now trying to rebuild their lives and establish themselves in Mexico City. However, they often face multiple and overlapping barriers, including discrimination based on their sexual orientation or gender identity, their nationality, their migration status, and in some cases, the lack of documents that reflect their gender identity. So, because of increasing restrictions on asylum and migration pathways toward the United States, many people are now remaining in Mexico for longer periods. In Mexico City, ORAM responds through three closely connected areas of work. The first one is that we provide temporary housing support through our Airbnb program for people facing homelessness or immediate protection risk. Second, we offer individualized case management, and we connect people with trusted organizations that can assist with asylum procedures, healthcare, psychosocial support, documentation, employment, and other areas. And third, we develop programs that support local integration and economic self-reliance. And I think Fardosa is in Kenya is an example that how our programs are impacting the life of queer refugees. And now in Mexico, we are starting with this program, and we are excited to see all the evolution of the people that are participating in our program. So that's the third one, the integration and economic empowerment. And I will say that the greatest need we are seeing is stability. That means having both a safe place to live and a dignified source of income. Many queer refugees experience discrimination, as I said, um, but in some very simple and things in life, like trying to rent a room or find employment. Trans people in particular may encounter rejection because of their gender identity, and some people end up in homelessness or overcrowded shelters. So, and the other important part is the income or a dignified employment. So I know that receiving legal protection is extremely important, but legal status alone does not guarantee that someone can pay rent, buy food, or build a future. So protection remains fragile when a person does not have safe housing or sustainable income. And that is why ORAM is working to respond to emergencies, yes, but also to help people create the conditions for a stable and independent life in Mexico.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. It's incredible to see how changes in policy in one country may have such an effect on the other. Sometimes I think it remains to be seen just how much the LGBT community may flourish in Mexico City as a result of this. You know, we keep watching that. What are the three pillars that you mentioned of the work in Mexico City between temporary housing, case management, and economic reliance? I want to focus a little bit about on the economic self-reliance. Just as you mentioned in the video before, we see that, you know, housing and safety is a solid foundation to offer a person. But I think to really go another step and have them thrive and have that sense of self-agency, economic self-reliance is so important. So on that note, how did ORAM's economic empowerment pilot begin in Mexico City, and where does the project stand today?
Yeah, to tell you a little more about our program, pilot program, I would like to share some photos with you. And Kyle, can you help me sharing the presentation, please? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, the economic empowerment pilot began last year in September, and with something very simple, like we need to listen. So rather than arriving with a predetermined program, we organized together with Casa Refugiados, our main partner in Mexico City, a focus group with 15 queer refugees and asylum seekers in Mexico City. So the participants came from Honduras, Cuba, Colombia, Haiti, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. And the group included gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and non-binary people. So in that focus group, we asked participants about the barriers that they were facing, but we also asked about their skills, their professional experience, and the businesses they had already tried to develop. So that distinction was very important for us because we did not want to see people only through the lens of vulnerability. So many participants already had considerable experience, creativity, and entrepreneurial knowledge. So what they often lacked was access to capital, like formal networks and information about their rights and opportunities to develop their ideas. And so that was one of the focus that we had on the focus group. And next slide, please. Thank you. So based on that consultation, we designed a capacity building and entrepreneurship course together with local partners like Casa Refugiados, Poesía Pintada, La Morada, and La Moira. And the program combined several dimensions because economic integration is not only about teaching someone how to write a business plan. So it's more than that. So the first session focused on employment rights and the legal framework in Mexico. The second about emotional well-being. The third is financial skills, and the fourth entrepreneurial capacity. So next slide, please, Kyle. Thank you. So those are pictures of the first session about employment rights and legal framework. As you can see, there were 9 queer refugees participating in the whole capacity building course. The next one, please. This was the second session about focused on emotional well-being and self-confidence because many refugees arrive after experiencing persecution, displacement, and violence, and it is difficult to build a business or enter the labor market when you are still dealing with those experiences. So for us, it was really important to have these kind of sessions. Next one, please. We also worked on community and support networks because one of the greatest challenges for LGBT refugees is isolation. So participants were able to meet other people facing similar circumstances and establish relationships that continued beyond the course. And that was another important objective for us. Like we wanted to create community between them, and so some people like share tips or advices, and that was really good. They create a WhatsApp group and sharing information there. So that was really cool. Next one, please. The session 4 was about financial education. So in this session, the participants developed or strengthened concrete businesses proposals. So they learn about financial issues to create or strengthen businesses that they already have. The next, please. So, yeah, we in this session in Entrepreneurship Lab, they create these projects or this business, and they present the business to the whole group. So we knew that training by itself would not be enough. So because people can receive excellent advice, but without access to even a small amount of capital, their business may never move beyond the planning stage. Is that why the final phase included seed funding? The next one, please. Well, these photos are from the graduation, and they receive a certification for the capacity building course. And in that session, we share that we are going to select the projects that achieve all the objectives of the course. We are going to select to provide asset funding. So next one, please. So 7 projects were selected, and each received $500. 2 existing businesses were strengthened. 4 businesses that had previously stopped operating were reactivated, and 1 entirely new initiative was developed during the course. So the projects included jewelry and accessories, African hair braiding, clothing, beauty and wellness services, and other creative initiatives. Those photos are some of the logos that they create during the course, and the other photos about their accessories that they build or they make to sell. So today, the first cycle of the pilot has been completed, but the work does not end when the grants are delivered. So we are now focusing on follow-up, strengthening the existing businesses, connecting the participants with community events and potential customers. And one of the biggest things, I think, is learning from the pilot so that we can improve and expand the model, and a new stage of the program. So for us, I think the success of this pilot is that a participant can generate income, regain confidence, build a network, and have greater control over their future. As like we see with the example of Fardose. So I know that a grant of $500 may sound like small in some contexts, but for a small business, it can mean purchasing tools, materials, and or initial inventory. So it can make a difference. Yeah, and that's how our pilot program unfolded. And I'm so happy that we can share these photos with you because it's different. Like if I speak and I share verbally, than we can see visually, the work that we are doing in Mexico and the faces of the people and the smiles. And yeah, back to you, Anton. Thank you.
Wow. I'm blown away. That is fantastic. And that's just the pilot, right? So, quite impressive. Thank you for sharing all of that, Renee. It really makes me think that I love what you said in the beginning that, a lot of these folks already have the skills and, more not to get too high concept, but we're not necessarily born disempowered. We're made disempowered, right, by institutional oppression or lack of opportunity, and to see how just a little bit of economic empowerment goes a long way. I mean, all of those business ideas are just sitting there waiting to be shared with the world. So thank you. That was quite impressive. Looking forward to when it gets moved past the pilot phase, right? This is just the beginning. So very excited about that. I want to now turn over back to Steve. Steve, I think you're probably just as impressed as I am in hearing those videos and hearing those stories. I want to ask you, I mean, it's clear that ORAM's work has grown over time, and it's continues to stay rooted in the same commitment to helping queer refugees build safety, stability, and reliance. As we listen to these stories and reflect both on ORAM's past impact and its work today, what can you say about where ORAM is headed and why support in this moment matters so much for us, ORAM, and the refugees we serve?
Thanks, Anton. It's a good question, and I love what both Renee and Fardoz shared, and that's that the support that we give provides queer refugees with stability and with income and with independence, which is what they need to take them to the next level. And so in terms of where we're headed, it's really continued innovation around this work that we do around livelihoods, around housing, digital learning, and just resilience more broadly. We started a digital learning center in Nairobi several years ago, about 3 years ago. And when Kyle and I were there visiting our team and the refugees we serve in last November, they were in the middle of an AI training. Now they've got a cohort that's working on graphic design, which is really amazing. We're equipping them with laptops so that they can have the tools that they need to be able to do the work safely from home. At the same time, in terms of innovations, we've got some great training of the trainers program. We call them TOTs, where we actually, we train the queer refugees to be the next generation of leaders and the people that are doing the training and holding the knowledge. And so we're really embedding that in the communities. We've started an incredible drought-resistant agricultural program that uses climate-smart gardening techniques in Kakumu Refugee Camp, which is a really arid and kind of inhospitable place, but with water and the right tools, things can grow and flourish there. There's certainly a lot of sunshine. And it's giving people both food to eat and products that they can then sell on the market as well. And even with our housing program, we're able to innovate. Our team on the ground in Kenya last year discovered that just through identifying needs and coming up with creative solutions, that we could register some of the queer refugee-led safe houses we worked with as hosts on the Airbnb platform. So now we're able to book book new arrivals into those homes, which means the money stays in the community. The community then reinvests that back. They're able to extend their stays longer than the standard 30 days, and they're able to provide additional support for the community members as well. So it's really about that continued innovation. It's about giving people skills that they can take with them wherever they go, whether they stay in these transit countries longer term, whether they move someplace else. One thing that we're seeing now is that displacement is very unpredictable. It used to be kind of a journey. People were going from one place, ultimately trying to get to resettlement country, and those pathways are no longer as clear cut as they were. But as long as people have skills that give them flexibility, then they're going to be able to do okay. And we're continuing with the localization of our work that I've talked about a lot. We're taking it one step further. As you know, as one of our board members, we're in the process of registering in Kenya as a local nonprofit there. We're already registered in Germany, and we're looking at adapting that registration so that we have even more independence for that local arm of ORAM. And and finally, just continuing to pursue new partnerships, deepening partnerships, and ways to expand our work so that we're not doing it alone. And I think the second part of your question was, why does support in this moment matter so much? And it's really because almost someone is getting resettled, and people need this support in transit countries more than ever. And at the same time, there are less organizations that are providing it due to the funding cuts, due to the fact that the federal government has made it very difficult for mainstream organizations to do LGBT-focused work, and has put their funding at risk if they do that. Um, people really want to be self-sufficient, and so we're in the right organization to be able to deliver on that. And the truth is the whole framework for humanitarian assistance is changing, and it's no longer the federal government doling out big $1 million and $1 billion amounts of funding, and foundations really aren't stepping in the way that we would expect them to do. So it's really, it's up to us to adapt. And, the final piece I would say that I'm really happy to say is that our individual donors, people on this call and many others, have been a lifeline for us for this work. And, we had a donor say to us recently, we were talking to them about our work, and they said, wow, it really takes a village, doesn't it? And we said, it does, and that's, yeah, everyone is part of that village. So, we're glad to be able to just keep moving it forward.
Yeah, thank you for those remarks. I've had a chance to attend several fundraising events with you, and I know just how critical individual contributions are, especially now. At the end of the day, it's folks who are attending this call who make this work possible, through folks like you, Steve, folks like Renee and Kyle. So it always warms my heart to see that we can just connect together as individuals, regardless of what the state of the world may be, and help individuals that are most in need. So before we close, I want to take a moment to thank everyone for being here. Thank you so much. And acknowledge that today's conversation is also that a fundraiser to support ORAM's work. Our work remains urgent, especially now given the climate and how many pivots we have to make. And if you haven't had a chance to donate today or in the last month or so, we really kindly invite you to do so. Be generous and help us meet our fundraising goal of $5,000. As you can see, even $500 goes a very long way to help in such a crucial way. Kyle, who's our lovely host, is going to be sharing some information in the chat on how you can make a gift to the organization.
Thanks so
Kyle,
much,
I'll hand it
Anton.
over to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Anton. I appreciate that. And everyone, again, thank you all so much for joining us today. I did just drop a donation link in the chat right here. Additionally, if you're looking for another way to make a donation, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm dropping my email in the chat right now. There are several ways, but this is a great way. And Abby, I love what you shared about look at how much $500 does. I think that's incredible. And it is just truly, truly amazing. So I just wanted to thank you all again so much for joining us and for your support of ORAM and LGBTIQ refugees around the globe.
Take care, everybody.
Great to see everyone. Thanks again for joining us. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. I gotta get out.